Howdy howdy, welcome to the swamp. Today we're going to be pouring and preparing MYA or Malt Yeast Agar dishes. Malt Yeast Agar is my preferred method of nutrient and gelling agent for my mycelial growth. Any mushroom or fungus I've put on it seems to quite enjoy this recipe, but feel free to tweak things, tweak brands, amounts, and ingredients just to better fit your needs and your mycelium. But this is how I do things, so that's what we'll cover today. So, some things that you're gonna need, and I can cover some other optional alternatives as well. First, we'll start with a vessel. So you need a autoclavable vessel. This can be a mason jar, this can be different reused glass jars and things from your kitchen, but I always prefer to use borosilicate glass. This is a Pyrex, 1000 milliliter. You can do 500 milliliter, 250 milliliter, whatever works for you. Got the lids over here on the side as well. Some measuring tools, some water. This is actually just tap water. You can use distilled water, and that's nice to use a filtered, cleaner water because it just gets cleaner material in there. But I'm just going to show you how tap water works just fine. Depending on where you're at, you may want to play it by ear, but I know that tap water, at least in the US in some spots, is pretty bad, but we won't get into that. Continuing on, active dry yeast. This is optional, but I find it to be a pretty important, nice, beneficial ingredient. You can also use nutritional yeast, or whatever other forms of yeast are out there, like bakers, things like that. But the mycelium really likes the addition of just a little pinch of yeast. And then my malts. So a lot of people use light malt extract, which is a dry powder. Please feel free to use light malt extract. It works incredible. That's why everybody uses it. I just like the barley malt syrup. I transferred over to this little jar, this little bottle. Squeeze it out. It mixes a little bit better. I think it's just a nicer little ingredient or nutrient profile than the dried powder. I don't have the science to back that up, but it's great. It's a little different to measure out. It's an additional step, so please, that's why I say use light malt extract powder if you're just getting into this and just getting started, unless you're really trying to get a little funky. And those recipes will all be included below. So now we've gone through our ingredients, let's get started. So we'll start. Alright, so now we can get started. My scale died as soon as I went to start using it. So, we'll get our scale turned on. This little cup just kind of holds a coffee filter, which I have found to be an incredible tool to get agar and active dry yeast, anything that likes something wet or just kind of hard to get all of it out of some containers. Pop it right out of a coffee filter. Easy peasy. So yeah. Zero that. Grab our active dry yeast first, just because easy peasy. And we want 1.25 grams of active dry yeast. Nutritional yeast, whatever yeast you're doing, is going to be about the same. And again, feel free to play around with these ingredients however you see fit. So that's actually 1.6. It's a little much. This scale's a little slower than mine, so I got a little ahead of myself. I'm just gonna scoop a wee bit. 1.4, that's not bad. That's not bad. We'll rock with it. We'll rock with it. So we've got 1.4 grams of dry yeast in this. Not the end of the day. Again, mycelium's just gonna get that little bit more food. It'll be alright with it, but I aim for 1.25. Now we'll get into the agar. Kinda work it down. Open up this corner right here. Telephone brand I have found to be the best, my favorite agar. Bulk wise, you can get some bulk agar and some lab grade agar, but this financially still seems to be damn near one of the best options. And it's Telephone brand. It's Old Faithful. Like they know what they're doing. They've been doing it for a minute. It's used by all the chefs for a reason. Just Telephone branded. It's on Amazon. You can get 6 packs. I think like 12 bucks. We want, for this 1 liter of it, we want between 18 and 20 grams of agar. We're gonna go closer to 19 on this, right in the sweet spot. But I'll tell you why the range. If you want to go closer to the 18 grams, that's good for starting spores and a little softer agar. It can also be used for some older mycelial transfers, just kind of a little softer, wetter, looser. You go closer to that 20 range, that 20 grams, that's nice, snappy agar. So your swab won't drag through quite as nice. But if you're doing transfers, that 20 grams is perfect. 19, right in the middle, that's good for my undecidedness. So, go right here for 19. I'll try not to go over on this one. And we went over. Scoop a little out. Probably right there. We got 19. I swear, guys. Normally I'm better, but I'm gonna blame the scale. All right. So we've got our agar and our yeast. Get that little scale out of the way. And now we're gonna take this. We've got a magnetic stir bar right at the bottom. You can use like a marble or a little round something safe that's not going to break the vessel. But the magnetic stir bar is great because then we can go right? Get a little stir plate action. And to start, only add a little bit of water. I usually go between 300 to 400 milliliters. You don't want to add too much because you want space to get a good mix and get everything started to blend up in a little slurry. So here's our yeast and agar blend. And there's that. And then we can go turn this on. Sometimes it takes a second, especially with not much getting started. There we go. Now we're cooking. I'll just give that a second, kind of blend up. Bust out our other scale, and that's going to be for our barley malt syrup. So put that on there. We've got it set to grams. To zero that out. This scale is a little sensitive, so this is part where you don't need to follow these exact steps if you don't want to use the barley malt syrup. You can instead use the light malt extract powder, and that you can use about the same nutrition amount. Alright, so we're going to add our barley malt syrup now. And we're going to shoot for about 16 grams. You can go heavier on the nutrition. I just like to go a little lighter. Even up to 18 grams, 20 grams is perfect. See, and luckily because I did 17. I'm nervous on camera, guys, you know. Cut me some slack. So we've got the 17 grams of our barley malt syrup. We'll put it back on our stir plate. We'll get this mixing. Get that mixing. And the 1,000 milliliter mark on these bottles is right about that little ridge. And that's it. So, depending on where exactly the level is and the magnetic stirrer, it might be making a little noise, but that's alright. That just lets you know it's mixing. You don't even have to watch. So now we'll let that mix for a second, and then we'll put it in the pressure cooker at 15 psi for 20 to 25 minutes. And then we'll pour it and get our lab ready, and you'll see. You'll see. It'll come. So yeah, let's get this to the pressure cooker. Alright, so we are now at our 15 psi. Just over, actually. And so, we dropped our heat down just enough to maintain. And so depending on how full it is, I'll be in this range, but I'll come check on it. But now that we're at 15 psi, 25-30 minutes, we'll turn it off, let it cool down naturally. We will not relieve any pressure. And then once it is cooled down and at 0 psi, we'll move it to the tent where it can start to meet some beautiful, sterile, cell-treat petri dishes. Stay tuned. Alright, so our agar is out of the pressure cooker. We've got 3 liters cooked up here. You saw me prep 1, but there's magic behind the scenes. So we've got them all 3 prepped up. They're pressure cooked. They're cooling now, right? So we've got them in front of the flow hood, almost ready, but they're on their stir plates, mixing, not too fast, just enough. We're close. 140, 100, high 100, 130, now we got 140. So once these get down to about 125, 120, maybe even 130, maybe you're in a rush, we'll get them pouring up, and we'll get them multiplying, huh? Get the mycelium running. Alright, so before we unload our cups of sterile agar dishes, Just want to wipe down this surface once more, especially with agar. Pouring agar, you can never be sure that your surface is too clean. So I like to wipe tables, wipe down your surfaces, anything you might be handling, working with, all that fun stuff. Agar is cooling still, so we've got a minute. Alright. And now, I've got my petri dishes. I like to use the Celtrete grip ring. Make sure that's focused. The Celtrete grip ring 100mm dishes. I've also got the 100mm slippable. I think they're slidable ones as well. I don't really know what that difference is, but I like the slippable ones. They work well, but the grip ring ones I find to be just a little heavier duty. The grip is nice, but really they're just a heavier duty plastic. So I find they just kind of work with me better, hold up a little nicer. They stand and stack a little taller. 10-piece of the grip rings is probably almost an inch taller than the 10-piece of the slippables, and it's also probably per 500 pack. The grip ring is probably $30 to $50 more depending on the time. The slippables are usually around $70 for 500. These can be anywhere from 100 to 130. So use the slippables. I just like these a little picky, but they're nice. I tell you what. So yeah, I've got these. I'm just gonna give them another quick ISO right before I wipe them down. I cleaned them all before they came in. These are all fresh out of the box. They're sterilized inside. I just kind of want to wipe them down so spray them down so that whenever I open them up, I want to go one wipe down. Anyway, yeah, I just like to spray them down so that way when I give these a little slice, any loose little particles and this, that, and other is kind of whatever, you know, a little extra ISO. So what if it does something, it doesn't do anything, it's a little extra ISO to be sure, so just do it. But I think a little extra ISO is going to help keep those particles saturated, as well as just kind of denature them and help just kind of clean up a little bit as it does already. So spray your stuff with ISO. Don't spray your flow with ISO. Spray your bags with ISO. Don't get your flow wet while we're here. All right. That's a whole nother video, but we'll get into that. So I'm just gonna take these. They've got little slices, little tears in them already. This up. Alright, so we've got all these opened up. Now, you'll notice they're all upside down. What the heck? No, they're not. Flip them upside down. That's how they open properly. Alright. So, go through, stack these up, get them ready. And alright, we've got our stacks. They're ready. They look nice, right? And so what we're gonna do, we're gonna start at the bottom, and then we're gonna work our way up as we pour. My right hand is my dominant hand, so I'm gonna be holding my agar with my right hand. And then I'm gonna come and grab with my left hand this bottom dish. I'm gonna grab this top and lift. And then slightly out of the way. And I'll come in here, pour in my agar, drop it down, slide up, pick it up, right? And so then you get into a motion and you just work your way up. And each one, you're just grabbing this top little bit, and you can lift the rest of the stack just with that top piece. So it's pretty simple, but it feels weird to start. So don't worry, just keep doing it, keep getting uncomfortable, and it gets more comfortable. You know? So let's check this. We are at 134. Oh, we're close. We're close. We're at 134. Oh, give that 10 more degrees. All right. So change up our angle. Hopefully you can see. We're at about 130 degrees. So we're gonna get ready to pour here. And to do so, we're just gonna have nice, slow, methodical, well thought out movements, right? We're not gonna bounce back and forth doing this or that. We're gonna start to pour our agar, and we're gonna finish it. If your phone vibrates because somebody on Discord or Instagram or Farmville, I doubt anybody's playing that now, but I think about it and I miss it. Just stay focused on the agar. Work with a purpose. Pour with a purpose. And then the mushrooms do the rest of the work, really. So, alrighty. So, we are sitting at about 127 on our first liter. About the same on the others. So, we're gonna get started. 125 is kind of like that nice prime time range. So, as far as I'm concerned, 127 is basically 125, especially because I'm on video. So, I ain't working as smooth and fast as I normally do. So, we'll go a little slower. Try and be sure you can see what the heck's going on. Any questions at all, please feel free to point them out. Ask me, ask others, whatever it may be. We've got the comment section and we've got a whole community, so reach out. We can help each other out. We can get better. So, first one, open up. Ideally, you would not be talking, but somebody's got to do the video, right? So, grab this, get a good grip on it. I usually like this type of grip, kind of on the collar. My hands aren't big enough to grab towards the bottom either, so this just gets me a good grip on it. It's easy on the forearm. And again, we're just gonna grab this lid, right? Just the top one of these lids, lift, and move it away. Lift the whole stack by grabbing a lid. If the 20 is too much, please start with a 10. Start with the 10s. Add your other 10 on top if you need the space. And so then we'll just pour that right in. Basically, right as it fills the base, it's good. That's the perk of pouring at a lower temperature. The viscosity is a little higher. So once it covers the base, your mint. So, pick up the lid, move it aside, and pour. And just keep that agar mouth opening for your vessel, whether it's a Pyrex, a mason jar. Keep your vessel mouth towards the clean flow, or if you're working in a still air box, make sure nothing passes over top of it, and be sure you're working extra smooth and slow and methodical. But we'll just go through and pour all these up. So, it's nice and meditating. Honestly, I quite enjoy, especially on like a Friday or like a Sunday, coming into the lab and just being able to pour some agar. So normally I wouldn't lift these lids as up and over as far as I am, but I'm trying to give you guys some sort of visual and a couple different kind of looks at it. And so normally for a 1 liter bottle, I'm getting about 40 plates, so I'll get about 2 stacks roughly, sometimes a little less, sometimes a little more, but I'm going to flip on actually a little POV camera here. See if that doesn't help us get a better view of what's going on. into that. So now we've got our agar poured, right? All poured up. We gotta let it cool. It's 8:38 right now on a school night. If I'm up in a handful of hours, I'll wrap them. If not, I'll let them hang out until the morning. When I get up for work, before I get up for work, I'll make sure I'm nice and clean. I'll come in here, they'll be cooled. The condensation will be worked away for the most part. They'll be cooled and fully solidified, and that's when I'll wrap them up and seal them up. So, see you then. So, it's been a handful of hours now. We got our agar fully cooled, fully solidified, and ready to go. So now, we're going to wrap it up, keep it safe, keep it sterile until we're ready to use it. So, you could use some. There's a couple different things you can use. You could wrap these plates in your previously used agar sleeves. You know, you can save those that we cut open, dump the agar out of. You can put those back in there. They are pretty sterile, so as long as you open them up reasonable, you can slide these back in and kind of clip them back up. It works. It's not perfect, but it's an option. I like to use a little shrink wrap, PVC shrink wrap that comes around and it seals up the plates. And then, if I'm sending them out, I'll hit them with an extra bag, so a double layer of protection. And plates in this type of double layering, I'd imagine 6 months from now, if stored still at a reasonable temperature, room temperature, 6 months from now these plates are still going to be good to go. So obviously the fresher the plates the better, but if you store them properly, they last longer. So we'll go through, we'll stack these up in little tins, we'll get them wrapped up, but as you can see too, the top couple plates still have that wee bit of condensation. It's not too bad, but just that little bit of condensation. But whenever we go about halfway in, even for the 10th stack, you can see those are some perfect agar dishes. So we'll come through, I'll break these all down into 10 stacks, so that way I can wrap them up. And you can see too our different colors of the agar. So we had our regular agar. Let me find a good one. We got our regular colored agar, the no food coloring, and then one other liter I did add some red and some yellow food coloring, trying to kind of get like a burnt orange. And yeah, instead, yeah, I don't hate it. I don't like it. It's kind of weird, right? But it's a different color. So I don't really like food coloring too much and using different coloring methods, because it's just another thing for the mycelium to have to digest and work through. And depending on what you use, maybe it does so easily, maybe it struggles. So the no dye is just so easy. The mycelium loves it every single time. Organization in the lab can get a little overwhelming with hundreds and hundreds of colonizing plates that all look the exact same from the side. So switching up some colors here and there can help you out in that department. But we got our agar wrapping supplies here. So again, we've got bags that go over the top. So for the bags that go over the top, I've got these off of Amazon. They fit the Cell-Treat heavy-duty grip ring plates. Again, like I was saying earlier, these grip ring plates are about an inch taller than a 20 stack or a 10 stack. They're probably about a half inch taller than the 10 stacks of the regular. So these bags are a little big if you're using the slippable Cell-Treat or other petri dishes, but For these, the 6x10 bags work really, really well. After we've sealed them up, they'll slide right in here, and then I can send them out to all you incredible myceliators all over the globe, wherever you might be. So we'll start with the PVC wrap. I'll have a link for the PVC wrap, and I'll put it right below. But this is, I believe, the 6x10 size. 7x10. So this is the 7x10 more pack. Right off of Amazon, comes in 100 packs or so. Just PVC shrink wrap. So I keep it in that little bag, and then once I'm ready to use it, I'll take the shrink wrap out with nice clean hands, and then I will use a heat gun in front of the flow hood. This heat gun's only been in the lab. It's only had this nice clean filtered air in it. So I'll use that heat gun, and I'll start wrapping these up. So let me give myself a little space. There's a bunch of different ways to do this, again, whether it's pouring to the wrapping, but this is just the way I do it. I use a little, this is a 3D printed cup. I actually use often for swabs, just to hold swabs in it. I'm just going to flip it upside down, and I'm going to set the plates on top. And just setting the plates on top, just going to help me get the sleeve, slide it over, get it wrapped up, get it off. It's just going to give me a little bit of range. You can use something more along this size. I would use a plastic because this is going to shrink, but you can use like your media lids, which are similarly raised up. Just something that's going to get your agar slightly raised up so you can get your sleeve up and around and get it fully sealed and tucked in. So see what you got in your lab that's clean, stable, and works with you, and use that. So we've got our clean hands, we've got our clean PVC wrap, and we're going to take our 10 stack, set it right on top of here, grab our PVC wrap, open it towards the flow, and just slide that right over top. Okay, now that's on the top, I'll kind of grab onto the bottom just to keep it there, put it on low, this heat gun on low, and just cinch this right up. If you go too long or too hard in a certain spot, you can get a micro tear or a little hole. You can band it up with something. You can double bag it with one of these. You can put the other bag I use on top. It depends on what exactly your use is, how long you're going to be waiting. Sometimes those small tears aren't too big of an issue. You're going to be using the plates just a couple days or something, but I'll just kind of press it down, seal it down on the top and the bottom to make sure it sits flat. Whenever these are nice and hot, press it down. But that's the first one. That's the wrap. So I'll go through these, get them wrapped up, get them sealed, and then that'll be it for our Agar Adventures episode 1 on how to prepare and pour and store your malt yeast agar. So again, PVC wrap, we grab it. It's the little bag. You can get the sheets. The sheets are nice, but you have to buy them bulk off Uline and then cut them to size. These bags are just easy off Amazon. Cheap, readily available. Open into the flow. Sometimes they tuck in a little bit, but open into the flow. Put it right over top. Heat gun. Hold that bottom just a little bit, keep it in place. Okay. That's it. these dishes were for myself, I would take them from here and put them into a bin. Bin is already a little full, but I've got a bunch of transfers to do, so I have a nice little bin I keep right here in the lab, right next to the flow hood, full of agar. If these dishes are for myself, like these ugly colored ones, I'll tuck them right into my little bin. It's a little full right now. Don't judge it. Got plenty of agar. Tuck it into a bin, and then we'll keep this closed up. If you have a nice airtight seal on your bin, that's ideal. This bin does not have an airtight seal, but it's a seal better than no seal. So I like to keep my agar sleeved up in this bin until I'm ready to use it. Or, like I was saying earlier, if these dishes are heading out to you guys for all of your wonderful projects, then that's when I go from this stage right to the 6x10 bags, right? These larger bags, kind of, it's 4 mil, so it's a heavier duty plastic. It's nice. It's a pretty durable bag. I'll open that right up. Slide your agar right in. And I'll put a sticker right here just to be sure it's closed. It stays closed. But that's your agar until we're ready to use it. So thank you for coming in, tuning in to this episode 1 of our agar adventures and how to. Hopefully by now you've got something looking like this. So let's get ready to put some mycelium on it next, huh? Have a great one, guys. Stay swampy.